student has to prepare a circuit and explain it. Read the facts that you have to demonstrate and think which circuit you could use. You can find a clue to know which components are useful for you in column Goals and Further Guidance. A summary of components that you may use follows. You always need a source. All the sources are under the same menu, Inputs and Sources. Normally, you will want to use a voltage source. Two terminal voltage sources are easier to understand for beginners. If you are working with alternating current, use AC voltage source to terminals instead. If you want to fix a given current, use a current source. Resistors are so useful that they are available directly. Other passive components are under the Passive Components menu. Capacitors, switches, push switches that come back when released, multi-way switches, potentiometers, and relays. If you need a rectifier diode or a Zener diode, you will need to move to active components. However, if you need a LED or lamp, you will need to go to Output and Labels. Finally, if you need to measure, you will also have to use the menu Output and Labels to add voltmeters, ohmmeters, and ammeters. If your activity is a little bit more difficult, you can find some guidance in the Instructions column. Also, you don't need to make your circuit from scratch if your fact is marked in yellow. In that case, the instructions will tell you a menu path to set a circuit at once. Then you just need to explain it or make a few changes before. For example, go to Circuits, Other Passive Circuits, Three-Way Light Switches, and interact with the switches to explain what it's used for. In another example, we had to see how to use a Zener diode to limit the voltage across a resistor from a 12 volts DC current source. Here we make some changes following the instructions. Change the source to direct current. Add a switch to choose whether we are using the diode or not. Add a voltmeter to compare the behaviors. Notice that the circuit is represented in another way. The grounds are supposed to be closed with the voltage source. In this last example, we will make another use of the scope. We have a transistor and we want to observe the cutoff state and the linear conduction state. To do so, first we set a slider from 0 to 10 volts. We are going to see the voltage at the transistor base with the scope. And we are going to see in the scope the current at the collector. We can observe that the current is 0 when the voltage is 0, but the current remains 0 until the voltage is about 0.7 volts. This is the cutoff voltage. Finally, we can see it better if we combine both signals and represent one versus the other.